Ex8H on theoretical probability on page 467 of your textbook. Last lesson we looked at the idea of terminology like something being very likely, certain, even chance, or a fair dice, which obviously we didn't quite use today in the last session. So before we move on, there is a few things that we need to actually be able to apply. We need to be able to define these terms here. It's important that we know what these terms mean, so when the question asks us something using these terms, we know exactly what it's looking for. So I've got a couple of words up on the screen. I'm going to write a few short definitions for each one, and I do want you guys to write this in your notebook. So, experiment. What does experiment mean? If you're doing an experiment, yeah.
Like a trial?
A trial, absolutely. It's similar, but in our situation, for probability context, we write it's a chance activity. So we're doing something to determine the chance. So for example, like I mentioned earlier, rolling a dice to figure out what the chance of a 6 is, right? So an experiment is a chance activity. A trial is a single component. So I'm going to say single part of, oops. Can you guys read that off the back? Yep, easy. Of experiment. Let me know if I'm going too quickly, okay? So we've got an experiment, which is a chance activity. A trial, which is a single component of an experiment. So for example, tossing a coin or rolling a dice or whatever it is. What's an outcome? Yeah. An answer, a possible answer. So an outcome to flipping a coin could be? Flipping a coin?
Oh, coin or heads.
Heads, thank you. It could be heads. If you're rolling a dice, an outcome could be 6, absolutely. So I'm going to say possible result. Possible result is our outcome. Any questions so far? No? Okay. So far they're quite intuitive. Event, we define as the outcomes. The outcomes. So for example, a question might ask you, and you guys probably would have seen this before in the last exercise, it might say, what's the chance of it rolling a 3, 4, 5, or an odd number, something like that? Those are the outcomes, and so the question will be asking, what's the chance of this event occurring? And so that's what we're describing. Now, sample space is a bit of a different, bit of a new word. We haven't really used it as much in year 7. Sample space means what the possible outcomes could be. So what is the sample space, or what possible outcomes could you get from rolling a 6-sided dice?
6.
Is it 6? But there's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So sample space is literally every single one. So for example, if I'm getting a deck of cards, how many cards are there in the deck?
50.
52. So I should be going ace of spades, ace of diamonds, ace of blah, 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 all the way through, because that's a sample space. So it should be all possible outcomes. Okay, that's it. All possible outcomes. Can you read that card, okay? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So last lesson, like I mentioned, we talked about something being impossible and something being very certain. What percentage do we give to something that's certain? Lucas?
100%?
100%. Now remember, percentage, we just looked at percentages. We know percentage means out of 100. So 100 out of 100 means 1, doesn't it? Okay? So we define probability, we use the numbers from 0 to 1, which means that even chance is what as a decimal? Yeah.
50%?
If 50% is a percentage, what is it as a decimal?
Oh, 0.5?
Easy, 0.5. If I say something is likely to occur, so it's between even chance and certain, what decimal would you give that?
0.75.
0.75. And if it's something is unlikely, so right between even chance and impossible, we would give it a decimal place of about 0.25. So you see how we're using numbers from 0 to 1 to show a probability. It's kind of weird because in real life we don't say, oh, it's a 0.7 chance of rain. We don't say that. We would just say 70% chance of rain. So it's a new, different way of looking at it. Okay? Any questions about this before I move on to the bigger concept of probability? Okay. When we write about probability, it's a lot of wording, right? So, for example, if the question says, what's the chance of rolling a 6, right? You would say the probability of rolling a 6 is, well, it gets really tiresome. So we use certain terminology, or certain ways to write things that everyone understands. So if I'm trying to say the probability of rolling a 6, what I can say, in fact, is just write PR 6. So that means the probability of a 6. Can I get you guys to write down PR and then outcome? Oops, outcome. PR and then outcome. So whatever the outcome is that we're looking for or trying to find, whatever it is, we just write it in brackets and write PR at the front, which means probability of. Yes?
Is for outcome, is it like out of that number, or is it the number they were trying to get?
The number we're trying to get. So we're trying to say, what's the probability of getting a heads or a 6 or whatever it is? Good question. Okay, we're going to apply understanding to a few of these questions, so please make sure you follow along. Here we go. Oh, sorry, before I move on, I forgot to mention. So how do I find the probability? So we know that when I flip a coin, when I flip a coin, how many total possibilities are there? 2. And if I say I want a heads, that's only one possibility, isn't it? So to find the probability of something, we write down as a fraction, number of fractions. Please copy this in your book, thank you. This formula is actually quite important. Number of outcomes. And then on the top, we write down number of outcomes where event occurs. Sorry for the messy handwriting, guys. If I'm rolling a dice, what's the total number of outcomes? What possibilities are there? There's 6 of them, right? I would say the sample space is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but the number of outcomes is 6. If I say I want to roll dice and I want to land on an odd number, how many odd numbers are there? 3. So you would write 3 over 6. Let's put this into practice. Hopefully you've got this formula in your notebook. Alright, a fair 6-sided dice is rolled. What does fair mean again? Lucas?
It is not weighted.
Not weighted?
Each of those is...
That's the word I'm looking for. Equal chance or equally likely. Awesome. List the sample space. What is the sample space? Yeah.
The sample space is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Awesome. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, this is something that's particular to probability. When you're writing the sample space, we use these weird curly brackets. That's not the weird curly bracket. There we go. We use these weird curly brackets to show sample space. Okay. Find the probability of rolling a 3. So we use the formula. But before I do that, how do I write probability of a 3, but in shorter words? So I'm using this right here. Let's see, how do I do that? So I'm writing down probability, but what am I looking for? What do I want to roll? In this question part B. 3. So I write PR, bracket, 3, bracket equals. Yeah, so that tells the probability of a 3. Now, we write the number of outcomes where that event occurs. How many 3s are there? 1. And how many total outcomes are there? 6. So 1 over 6. But you guys already knew that. But that's how we apply it. Question C. Find the probability of rolling an even number. So I'm going to write PR even. So that's saying probability of an even equals. Now, how many numbers are even? Yeah, 3. How many total numbers are there? 6. Oops, sorry. There we go. 6. Now, am I done? What do I have to give an answer as, Henry? We can simplify, but what do we need to give our answer as? We need to give it as a decimal. We're doing C now. Decimal, right? So what's 3 over 6? How do we change that to a decimal? Yeah.
Well, you could make into a simple fraction.
Let's make it into a simple fraction. What do we do?
Like you find how many goes into each of them.
Good. I know that 3 goes into 3 once. I know that 3 goes into 6 twice. So I can divide by 3 on both the top and the bottom, and I get half. Is that my final answer?
No.
Yeah.
And you have to make it a decimal.
Good. What's 1 over 2 as a decimal?
0.5.
Easy. 0.5. Awesome. Last question. You guys are doing really well. Find the probability of rolling a number less than 3. So we write probability. And which symbol means less than 3? Yeah. Yep. Less than 3. Okay. Equals to. Oops. Let's draw a line in the middle. Just to. There we go. All right. So less than 3 is equal to what? Well, how many numbers are less than 3? Yeah. 2. We're not including 3 because 3 is not less than 3. Okay. So write 2 over 6. Good. Now I'm going to simplify that. I know that 2 goes into both of them, so that gives me 1 over 3. What's 1 over 3 as a percentage? Because the question's asking it as percentage, remember? What's 1 over 3 as a percentage? You guys remember that?
33.333.
Correct. 33.333. I'm just going to put the dot on top. Percent. So this is really applying some of your understanding from the previous exercise, previous chapters 4 and 6. I'm going to get you guys started on exercise 8H. So please make sure you attempt those questions out. I'll come around to help you guys out.